I'm Megan Skidmore, and welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I'm a woman, daughter, sister, spouse, mother, life coach, and person of faith on a mission to normalize asking questions and allowing doubts on a faith journey and all aspects of life. Join me as I bring this traditionally taboo topic out of the shadows of shame and into the light. I firmly believe we normalize through more talking and engaging in discussion. More talking peels back, exposes, and erases the layers of shame associated with asking questions and allowing doubts. When we are more authentic about our journey, we are more powerful because shame has no power in the face of authenticity. Beyond the Shadow of Doubt is a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, which is part of the Dialogue Journal found at dialoguejournal.com/podcast. Founder Eugene England was a Mormon writer, teacher, and scholar who wrote, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue. My hope is that this podcast is an extension of that vision." First Friday's free coaching, a confidential group to bring all the questions, vent frustrations, share fears, express doubts. Navigating a new and uncertain reality is hard enough. Let's remove the worry of judgment from others. In this group, I will help you help yourself so that you can be there for your child, family, loved ones, and for you too. Click the link in the show notes to sign up. You must complete the agreement. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I am Megan Skidmore, your host, and today I have Sara Cunningham with me. And if you do not yet know who Sara Cunningham is, you will after today, and you are going to love her as much or more as I do.
Aww.
I was first introduced to Sara through the organization that she founded, Free Mom Hugs, and I will let her share more about that in a minute. And then I had the privilege of getting to meet you in person a few months ago at Pride Frisco, their second annual Pride celebration in 2023. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Sara. I am so thrilled to have you today.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to this. You know, we met in Frisco, and wasn't that a great time together?
It was. It really was. It was so powerful.
It was so much fun, and it was a beautiful day. I always love going to Prides because it's a time set aside to just bring awareness to the LGBTQ plus community and their allies, and it's just always a very special time.
It really is, and there's always so much love.
Yeah, if you go to a Pride festival and don't feel the love, you don't have a heart.
So I would love to give you as much time as we can so that our listeners can get to know who you are and your mission. Would you just take a moment and share with us your background, just your origin story, anything that you feel comfortable sharing?
I'd love to. For those of you who may not have heard of Sara Cunningham or the Free Mom Hugs movement, the Cliff Notes are that my name is Sara Cunningham. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I have 2 children, married to my husband, and we've lived in the same home for over 30 years. Wow. And our youngest son, Parker, is gay, and he's the reason why we're here. Parker, we raised our children in a very evangelical, mainstream, conservative church. We were there every time the church doors were open. We did a lot of really wonderful things inside and outside of the fellowship there. And anytime the doors were open, we were there. And that's the way we raised our kids. And otherwise, they just had a normal childhood, went to school, public schools. I was a secretary before I was a founder of a Free Mom Hugs nonprofit. And that's a good start.
So you were born and raised in Oklahoma. That's not just where you raised your family, but you also were raised.
Yes, I was born and raised here. There was a time when I would beg my mother not to let me be buried in Oklahoma. I thought it was so boring, but now I really couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Mm-hmm. The cost of living is good. I love serving the community here, and my family is here, so I couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
Right. So you mentioned that you raised your children in a conservative evangelical church. Was that where you
Hmm.
were also raised in your childhood?
Well, we weren't practicing Southern
Mm-hmm.
Baptist growing up, though I did ride the church bus every time they'd offer a pizza party or vacation Bible
Mm-hmm.
school because my friends were going, but we were not consistent. It wasn't until I grew up, and had children of our own that I thought, we should raise them um,
Okay.
with some religion.
Okay. So can you one of my goals in starting this podcast is to normalizing
Hmm.
faith journeys, that they're all different and they're all good. There's
Hmm.
they're all gonna not look the same, and that's okay. That's really how it's supposed to be. They're gonna be as unique and individual as there are a number of humans on this
Hmm.
planet that have
Yeah.
come before and that will yet to come as well. And that having questions and allowing doubts are just a normal part of a faith
Hmm.
journey. Historically, there's been a lot of shame attached to having questions and doubts, particularly in faith communities. I have found that in my
Hmm.
faith of origin, and the more folks that I have talked to through the course of this podcast, and through my own personal studies and reading, it that seems to be the case with a lot of conservative faiths. You're seen as
Yes.
different and or not there's this view of it's not okay if you're outside of what maybe the general congregation or perceived belief of the general congregation. So I'd love to hear more about just your journey, now, like
Hmm.
you shared about you raised your kids in your evangelical faith.
Yeah.
How is it now? How has
Well,
that evolved?
I would like to add that, at the time when my firstborn was born, and we decided, my husband and I, that we would go to a church. Listen, I was just glad to. I mean, I was a Christian who just happened to go to a Southern Baptist church. We
Mhm,
could walk there from our house. It was the neighborhood church. All the school kids from the same schools that my our kids
mhm.
went to that church, a youth group there. So it just made sense that
It
that
was
is the church. It just
it's
so happened to
community.
be.
Mhm.
It just so happened to be a Southern Baptist church. I knew nothing about the doctrine or the theology, but I loved that church fellowship. As a family, we had shared births of babies and weddings and meals and just very tender, intimate
Mhm.
community type things in and out of our lives. So when I was also raised never to question authority, never to talk about sex or money.
Interesting.
And it's my opinion that that's how we got into this mess, not just on this particular subject, but in a lot of them. So, but it was once Parker came out of his closet that I went into mine, and I could not reconcile everything that I had been taught, that I absorbed, with the God I knew of love, and it was devastating, quite frankly.
Hard. It's really hard. I feel that.
Hmm. It was devastating.
So, wow. I love that you're just being real about this. When Parker came out of the closet, you
Hmm.
went into yours. Tell us more about what you mean by that and
Hmm.
why it happened in that way, you think.
Well, Parker tried to have the conversation with me, that he is gay several times over his adolescent life. But I always manipulated the conversation. I thought it was a phase. I thought that God wouldn't allow my child being raised in the southern in Christianity to be gay. I thought um, that it was just something that I wasn't having, right? And then he turned 21, he met someone, and he said, "Mom, I need you to be okay about it." And that's when the reality hit that he's gay. And to see him live authentically, and at that time, to be happy and healthy. Before, he had to check himself at the door, in our home, at our place of worship.
Mhm.
And so I went into my closet because I didn't even know how to have the conversation. Forget about saying even the word homosexuality
Mm-hmm.
or LGBTQIA two spirit plus.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was all about sex. And I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't have anyone. We didn't talk about that in the church. We didn't have same sex couples get married or serve in the community, in the fellowship. So I literally had no one. I thought I was the only mother with a
Mm-hmm.
gay kid, thinking that my son is going to hell and damnation for eternity because he's gay, because I was taught and absorbed the idea that it was the ultimate of offenses. I was frozen in that fear
Mm-hmm.
for his very salvation. And also, in addition to that, if I accept him, even tolerate Parker being gay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
made me just as much of a sinner. So
Yeah.
it's a vicious, terrible cycle. In fact, I heard someone say one time that the most hurtful thing you can do is use someone's faith against them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. And this was with the very best of intentions from our elders, from our uh, pastors, from the pulpit. You know, I really don't believe it was out of malice, or I do believe that it was with the very best of intentions that we were taught that. But it was just devastating. I didn't know where to look for resources. I didn't know any other parent. And then so I wrote a book about that journey. I could only think about writing about it.
Yeah.
And slowly I began to see Parker happy and healthy, living authentically, seeing people really celebrate him before I could or
Yeah.
would, and seeing and hearing their stories and learning about things like the history of human sexuality and science and evidence that convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that I believe that homosexuality is a gift from God to our families, to the world around us, and that the scripture used to condemn, even with the very best of intentions, has been misinterpreted, misunderstood, and misused. And so that is what I'm accountable to.
So,
And I am still a woman of faith. I have not
yes,
lost my faith.
I can see that. I can feel that 1,000%.
Good. I hope
Two
so.
two things I wanted to kind of circle back to that you mentioned. First, that you felt that you were taught that your tolerance even of your son meant that you were complicit. And I think that's just, it's a point that is worth repeating, because if there is a parent who is listening today and who also can, um, who understands being in that place,
Hmm.
that they might reconsider that belief, because unfortunately there are kids who are being ejected from their homes because of that belief. And for me personally, as a person of faith, there is no love. The God that I know and understand and believe in, there is no place in a heart that would say that that's a godly heart that would say that that would be okay
Hmm.
to eject your own child, your own family from your home.
It sounds absurd even talking about it.
It
And
does.
people who've not gone through being raised, or there's so many people who just weren't raised in the church and they just don't get it. They
They don't
just can't
understand.
believe. And I understand that now. But the reality is that's what we're taught. This is what we've
It is.
absorbed, my generation, that homosexuality is wrong, that something bad had to happen to my son to make him
Right.
gay, or
Yeah.
I failed as a woman of faith, as a
Yeah. It
mother.
was taught to my generation too.
Hmm. It's
And
it's
it is still
dangerous
being
and it's
taught
deadly.
in some
Absolutely.
places, in some circles. Yeah. Sorry, go
Yep.
ahead.
Well, we talk about the oppression. What happens is that you raise your children in a church that's non-affirming. That means they will not celebrate the
Mhm.
spiritual gifts of the gay community, or they won't allow the gay community to even serve if they feel called to. So that's a non-affirming church. It's a dangerous place because we raise our children in this beautiful fellowship that's doing a lot of good in the neighborhood, outside the neighborhood, in the world. but they grow up and they fall in love and don't understand why they're excommunicated from the church because they're in a same-sex attraction or not allowed to go to the youth, camp. It's
Mm-hmm.
devastating.
It
And
is
be,
devastating. There's not a
mhm,
place for them.
no, it's devastating. And that's the dangerous thing. And, there's a practice called conversion therapy. I'm sure you've heard of it, but the
Yes.
listeners who may not have, conversion
Well, they
therapy is
have.
any therapy, practice, or prayer that would try to change a person from being gay to straight. And it's deadly, but it's still legal, sought out, and paid for in my state, maybe in yours. And since we're talking about numbers,
No.
in 30 states, my son, our LGBTQ plus family and friends could be denied housing, health care, even thrown out of a public space because of how they identify. When I first became this advocate, accidental advocate, it was in 29 states, and now it's in 30. So people who are not aware of this or have children who are or family members who are gay, they don't get it because I was in my 40s before I learned the difference between gender identity and sexual orientation. I was in my 30s before I understood the significance of a little gay bar in New York City called the Stonewall Inn. It didn't affect me, so I wasn't concerned or didn't pay attention to those things. I just had tunnel vision on what I was expecting of my child or my family. And yeah, it's crazy to think about it. Sorry, got long-winded there.
No, no, no apologies. Yes, all of these are the realities of today, unfortunately. Luckily, there are folks like you who are moving in a more inclusive,
I'm
loving,
trying.
accepting direction.
I'm just doing things that I wish someone would have done when I was trying to figure things out. Number one, learning that you're not alone. You are not alone. And there's so many resources out there now to not have a better understanding on what it means to be gay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So you mentioned that you know and accept, I would insert the word believe your son in his story that he's telling you, right? But at one point
Yes.
you did not.
No.
Can you did mention there's research, which there is, and there is science behind it, but even without that, can you share what was the turning point or points for you when you just knew, you just believed your son, you knew that what he was sharing with you was his truth?
I I would say there were pivotal moments. It didn't happen overnight. It was a journey. And I think ultimately it was just seeing him happy. And it made sense on all the challenges that we had when he was growing up. So, not only that, but, and not to make it about me by any means, but I want our listeners to know that with that mindset, I missed an entire adolescence of my son's life that I'll never get back. I shamed him into throwing away journals, artwork, anything that I thought even hinted to or gave nod to being.
Wow. Hmm.
Yeah. And
I
so
appreciate
we're
you
still,
being open and vulnerable
yeah,
about that.
I
Thank you.
behaved in ways that I regret even today. I said
And we all
things that,
do.
mhm. And that takes a lot of therapy. So parents out there, I'm trying to save you. If you don't understand when you hear the words mom, I'm gay, mom, I'm trans, mom, I don't know what I am, but straight is not it. When your children tell you who they are, believe them. And that can apply whether they're 7 or 77. When your children, when someone you love, when your neighbor tells you who they are, believe them. And especially mothers with children, you can learn to celebrate your child or you
Hmm.
will learn to live without them. And that's the truth.
Yes, it is. You shared a little bit about it, but on a more like soul level, can you share what role Parker's identity, his coming out, play in your personal faith journey. You've shared with us how you were as a Christian before, how you believed,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
your behaviors, the things that you said, how you practiced, right? What role has his coming out played in you as a Christian?
The role that he played was just, um
Like, have you changed? Are you different now? How
yes,
are you different is a better.
yes, I'm different in the way that I view, um, doctrine. I still believe in God. I believe in the scriptures. I believe that I believe in the power of the Holy Spirit. I believe in the fellowship of believers. I don't go to a church regularly. When I do, it's to a fully affirming church.
Mhm.
Um, but if anything, I think I'm even more more how do I say this? If anything, what has changed the most, um, and I think if I could, I'll tell you a story because I think it will give you a great picture.
Certainly. Yes.
So, it was in 2014 that Parker invited me and his father to go to the Oklahoma City Pride Festival with him and some of his friends. Well, me again, I was still on the fence. Like, I prayed to God. I said, Lord, I want to see your favor there because I don't know if I should even go. That's where I was. I was still learning, still on the
Yeah.
fence. And I could have Googled what pride meant, the history of pride for the gay community. I didn't want that. I wanted God's favor. I wanted to see and understand for myself this experience. So we went with Parker and we stood on the corner of 39th and Penn, and it was near the end of the parade, and the procession's coming down, and there's flags and rainbows and just beautiful people, such diversity that I remembered a time prior to that, like a year before that. I was at a Mexican restaurant with one of my church friends. And you know what I'm saying when I say she prayed over me, where you kind of point your hand in that direction and you pray
Yes.
over someone. Well, she
Sure.
prayed that I would have such an impact on the gay community that they would want to leave that lifestyle. Yeah, that memory came into my head at that moment.
Okay.
And I looked up to the heavens and I thought the audacity of that prayer then and the mom that I am now. I had a huge brick-sized lump in my throat and I cried hot tears and I said, Lord, thank you that I am the one changed. I am the one changed. And I don't assume anything about anyone. And I had just the found love for this community. And that was the day that changed everything.
Wow. I
That helped.
It did, absolutely. I think that this um we're here to find happiness and peace and joy and love, and I don't think sometimes enough emphasis is given to that, or meaning. You said a little bit earlier, you could just see how much happier Parker was, right?
Yes.
And going to this Pride Festival and having this memory come back to your recollection. I mean, you experienced real joy there, and you did it you allowed yourself to define it. You did it on your own terms. You did it in a way that resonated with you and to you, to your core. Um, that's something that this journey has really given me the opportunity to cultivate, is that relationship to self and defining
Mhm.
my path, my journey, and giving myself permission to acknowledge uh, how I feel. This doesn't feel right, or doesn't resonate, or doesn't sit well with me. And having that be a valid way to feel, to experience life, to acknowledge that.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
so much cognitive dissonance that comes up in this journey when you have been raised in a conservative faith background. And
Hmm.
then when your reality is showing you very clearly, teaching you something very different. And that cognitive dissonance is real, and it often brings up a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in trying to reconcile. I've heard you use that word.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
have you done that in your own personal journey? Meaning, can you remember giving yourself that permission, or just realizing how do you navigate those points of question, of doubt, of concern?
Uh, well, I think early in the journey, I
Mhm.
just remember being so depressed, and I can only think of the word that scripture talks about Cain and Abel, how his face was downcast, and that's the only way I could describe it. And I do write about that in my book. I One morning I looked at my face in the mirror, and I had an expression that I had never seen before on my face. And I thought,
Oh,
that's downcast. When you are judging or shaming someone or even yourself, that's downcast. So that was very raw emotion. And then later, what got me through it is to find a private online Facebook group for moms with LGBTQ plus kids. And of course, I wrote my book. The book uh, begins at the church and ends at the Pride Parade. Free Mom Hugs is not mentioned in the book because it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't until I started volunteering
oh,
for Flag and uh, other services here before that began. So, but finding the private online Facebook group with moms with gay kids, and there were resources there. But I was 250. I was the 250th mom in that group. And we all were sharing the same story, how we'd been alienated from our church families on this journey, looking for resources, trying to save our children to, and now there's like 40,000 moms. Guess what? Me again, we all have the same story. We all have the same story. So you get in the group and you find out you're not alone. You find the resources that you need. And then guess what? You find your voice and you
yes.
start changing the conversation at the water cooler. You start celebrating this beautiful
Oh,
dynamic in your child. And moms learn from other moms.
yeah.
And to see someone else celebrate my son before I could or should or would um, was a huge check in me. So yeah,
That's
it was a
beautiful.
journey.
You cannot underestimate the power of community and of belonging and feeling connected, and like you have a home there. And that is so powerful. The strength, the love, the acceptance that you can feel, even if it's a virtual online group.
I will tell you that one of the things that I hear the most from the
Mhm.
community, say when I'm at a Pride festival or an event that's for the
Mhm.
community, and if we're having a moment, a conversation, a connection, the thing that I hear the most is they've lost their sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And if, I mean,
We're tribal as humans. We, at our very
and
core, we
that's
connect. That's how we
where
thrive and survive.
that's where chosen family comes in.
Right.
You get
So,
chosen family. Mhm.
on that note, then, you said this was all before Free Mom Hugs. Tell us all about that. Where did that come
Well,
from? Like, I
what
love
happened
it.
was, what happened was, Parker
Yeah.
invited us to Pride, and I just fell in love with this beautiful community
Mhm.
and realized these are beautiful, misunderstood people. And then I started volunteering at Second Chance Prom, at Flag for the Pride Board, meeting more and more of the community for the next year. This was in 2014 when we stood with Parker at the Pride Parade. I worked through that year, really, learning, making myself available, serving the community. And then in 2015, I made a homemade button that said Free Mom Hugs. And with anyone who made eye contact with me, I would say, could I offer you a free mom hug or a high five? Because not everybody's a hugger.
Right. Uh-huh.
And so the first hug I gave went to a beautiful young girl who said it had been 4 years since she had a hug from her mother because she's a lesbian. And my heart sank.
It's my
And I
heart.
held her close and I said, well, I'm a mom and here's a hug, and I'm not letting go until you do. And from that experience
That's
started the
beautiful.
nonprofit Free Mom Hugs. And this logo is recognized worldwide, and it sends a message, whether you can use your words or not, that you are a strong and faithful ally. And we go to pride parades. We have chapters in every state, every region. And when we're at a pride festival, we truly celebrate the community. We hug, we make connections. If they're not a hugger, we just acknowledge them and say, we love you. We're so proud of you. This is your day. Now go have fun. And we offer sunscreen and bottled water, and we just try to be that loving presence in the lives of those who've been alienated from their church homes, from their church families and biological families, and from society.
Huh.
So we want to do whatever we can to be that loving presence. Sometimes it looks like a care package. Sometimes it looks like a national pride ride. Sometimes it looks like a transgender Valentine's banquet. We do whatever we can to be that loving presence. And our mission, if I may, I love our mission
Yes.
statement because
Yes.
it's exactly explains Free Mom Hugs, is that we want to empower the world to celebrate the LGBTQIA plus community through visibility, through education, and through conversation, because those are the things that convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that being gay is good.
Wow. That is beautiful and heart-wrenching and soul-filling and bittersweet, all wrapped up into
Yes,
one big, fat,
bittersweet.
emotional. Yeah.
Good
That
word.
is such an amazing, amazing mission.
Thank you.
I love your mission so much. And that story of the first person
Yeah.
that you offered a hug to, I don't upload the video, but I have my Free Mom Hugs on,
I
shirt
see
on.
it.
My favorite logo. It is my favorite logo
Oh, yeah.
by
Good.
far.
They did a
Yes,
good job on that. Yeah,
they
I have
did.
one on, but it got cold, so I just grabbed my
It's
closest sweatshirt. But I love
um
wearing the Free Mom Hugs logo on our shirts or buttons or stickers. They just send a message, you know. I just got a private message the other day from a person who had been at their vet, and she was leaving. A woman was coming in, and the woman had a button, a Free Mom Hugs button, and she was leaving, and she went back in and asked for a hug because she recognized the button and knew that it would be safe to do so.
I have an amazing story. I went to Vegas with my best friend this past year,
Yeah.
celebrate our 50th, and I was wearing my Free Mom Hugs t-shirt, and we saw Kelly Clarkson, and this whole entire row next to me found out that was a bunch of friends, but they were all gay, all of them. And when they saw my shirt, they just
Oh,
lined up, and I am not kidding you. Every single one of, oh, are you kidding me? Oh, get over it. And I got so many hugs that night. It
oh.
was so special.
So
And
you
I just,
know.
oh, I do. Yes, I love it so, so much. I'll leave
Do
a
you
link in
remember?
the show
Oh,
notes where folks can get their own. Yeah.
do you remember your very first hug? Like have you been to a Pride festival with Free Mom Hugs?
I, um,
Well, you were just in tech.
yes,
Yeah.
I think I found out about you all online first because I totally relate to that feeling of, people don't talk about this a lot. And so when you were sharing how in the beginning, and you found that online group of 250
Mhm.
fellow parents, because up to that point, you really hadn't talked to many people about it. And so a lot of my connections in the very beginning were virtual. Plus, for us, this journey happened. And then, well, I mean, the beginning of it, and then the pandemic hit. So a lot of it was,
Oh.
during that time. I've shared my story in multiple places where I can leave links where people can read about it. It's hard to go into detail. That's why I refer folks to where I've already shared it. But yeah, in the beginning, so much of it was, well, at the very, very beginning, it was pretty hush hush because that's hard. It's just when you're in an area or in a community, and I mean a civic community, a neighborhood community, a faith community, even your family community. When there's certain beliefs in place, it's just hard to really talk about it. But I will always remember I met in the airport someone who I'd seen on Ellen who came out as, well, who was found out as gay in Tonga. He was actually fired from his job in Colorado because he wouldn't take down some social posts indicating that he had a boyfriend. But anyway, I ran into him in the airport and I'm like, would you like a hug? And he's like, the hugs are the best part about this space. And it is so true. And I've said that myself many times over. And so I feel your mission so much and your purpose. Now you have a best friend who also is a founder of a nonprofit. I'm going to have her on soon, so I won't talk too much about Liz, but Liz started.
She's a firecracker. She's a firecracker. She
is, just like you. Liz started the Mama Bears.
And
yeah,
I think she founded Mama Bears maybe just a little bit before I finished the book. So we were kind of together. We do share a similar story with our children, but I mean, she had, it was about the same time.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to that interview. I'll try to air these kind of close, but love this space so very much. I wanted to come back to address one area that we really haven't yet, and that is when this was happening and when you were going through these struggles. Do you remember, like, I know in the beginning you didn't talk much to your friends or family or your faith community. One of the things I like to talk about are safe spaces. And I've even extended that now to really brave spaces, because a safe space is under the assumption that both parties will be open and respectful and have their hearts and their minds and their ears open. And that's not always the case. That's the ideal, but that's not always the case. And so recently I've shifted to brave spaces. But for you, did you try to share your journey in your faith community? And if not, what kept you from doing that? Or when you do remember trying to, what was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Early in this journey, of course, I have had mentors, girlfriends at church that we served together for the better part of 20 years. And I confided with them, but they did not know how to minister to me. And I talk about one's reaction, and we've talked since then. We've worked things out.
Yeah.
In fact, she came out late in life, but they said they didn't want their son around that when I told them about Parker, and it was devastating. I wish I had a nickel for every time I used the word devastating, but it truly was. We didn't know how to minister to each other. And again, there's no malice, there's no I have to remember where I came from, that there's a mom out there like me then who needs to hear from a mom like me now.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to just get focused. But those two people that I confided in, we just alienated each other, really. And then luckily I found the private online Facebook group, so I could just pour myself in there. I could share everything. Yeah. My concerns, my anxiety, what I thought about, homosexuality without putting that on my child.
Yes. It's so important to have that support for yourself, whether it's through a group like that. Sometimes folks need a therapist, sometimes a life coach, sometimes an in-person group. But that is the thing that allows you to then be able to be there for your family, for your child, right? Having that support is so paramount.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this before, but it's I believe that this will resonate with, if you have listeners that are maybe hearing the words, "Mom, I'm not straight," that I needed to hear from someone who shared my faith that it's okay to search the matter out. I think if someone comes to me, and they do, when someone they love comes out or they themselves come out, then I'm available. I mean, of course I'm available, but then they come to me, and that's okay. But you have to search. And now there's so much information out there now, me again, that the only choice is to remain really in fear and ignorance of it, because there's so much information out there, no matter where you stand, historically, scientifically, scripturally, biblically. And when you have Liz on here, I don't want to give it all away, but she talks about fruit. You ask her about the fruit of love, fruit of, God is love, love is God, and the fruit of the Spirit. And she gives a beautiful illustration of the fruit of love.
Okay.
And so the fruit is seeing your child happy and healthy and not self-harming or at-risk behavior or suicide ideation. Fruit is having empowering, lasting, authentic relationships with your children, with your family. That's the fruit.
That's so true. That's a beautiful
And if
analogy.
it's causing thorny fighting, trying to make something happen, that's bad fruit. It's bad theology.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous and it's deadly.
Yes, it is. It's deadly in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Spiritual,
That's why
mental,
we have to have
emotional.
conversations like these. I appreciate your platform so much. I looked at I don't know if it's your mission statement on your, talked about presenting opportunities, how changes in our lives present opportunities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And redefine your identity.
Yeah.
You assess your values and you embrace your emotions. I love that.
Thank you.
And you using your talents where you're at, is just a gift in your lives. You really are.
Yes. And I echo that right back to you, Sarah. I
Well,
do.
this is not a competition, you know. Can you
Yes,
have
I do know
behind-
that. Trust
Yeah.
me, I'm just all about everybody jumping in and working together on this.
Can you have too much love? What if the rapture really is when everyone just gets it? No, I thought about that.
I think I could handle that definition for sure. Well, the last question I have for you that I ask all of my guests, the same question. The name of my podcast is Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I purposely dropped the A. The term to know something beyond the shadow of a doubt is something that I heard a lot growing up, when people would witness or give testimony of what they felt or that they believed, right? And I decided to name this podcast Beyond the Shadow of Doubt in an attempt to get past that negative connotation, that shame that is often associated with having doubts and questions on that note. So my question for you to wrap up is, what does it mean to you to live beyond the shadow of doubt?
For me to live beyond a shadow of doubt is, I believe, by following love, just walking in love and and producing good fruit.
Yeah.
And by those measures, there's no doubt that I'm on the right side of history, on the right side, power of the Holy Spirit, and I'm right with God.
I love that sentiment so very much. I truly believe you can't go wrong if you're leading with love, because you're coming from the best place you know how at that moment. If you're leading with love.
If it hurts someone, I'm not talking about discipline or, rearing your children. That's not what I'm talking about. But I would recommend too, families, please, just how you react to gay people on the television is going to have a ripple effect in the children in your family, whether it's your immediate family or their friends over. Make your home a safe place. Offer up a little rainbow somewhere, and so your kids know you're a strong and faithful ally. Join Free Mom Hugs.
Exactly.
They know they'll be safe. And if they're not part of the community, then their friends will be safe, because you have people around you that are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, two-spirit, and on. I pray someday we will not need the acronym. But until then, we need it, because it gives you a vocabulary and an idea where you can see yourself in the identities of each letter. So it's important to make that language available.
I feel that. I pray for the day that we just see each other as humans that are multifaceted, that have great depth, beautiful spirits, so many gifts, so many things to offer one another.
I don't know that it will be in my lifetime, but maybe in
I don't know
our
either.
grandchildren's lifetime.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I hope so.
And so I hope someday we don't need free mom hugs like we need it now.
But until that day, I'm more than happy to give up all the free mom hugs.
No,
I
good.
love it.
We got to get you signed up because you could be part of a region.
I am listed. I need to get connected with the
Yes, you do.
leadership. Yeah. So such a beautiful conversation.
Yes, thank
I like
you.
to throw out a few for funsies questions at the end. This just is
Uh-oh.
for us
Watch
to get
out.
to know you. 1 or 2 word answers is all I'm looking for. I don't have to
Lemon pepper
think
wings.
too hard. Yeah, lemon pepper wings. There you go. What is your favorite book? You can say your own, by the way.
Oh, my favorite book.
Uh-huh.
I would say I kind of what I'm reading now is really weird. It's called UFO and God. And it's
Okay.
based on a true story, but it's about a man who has an experience with what we would call, or I would call, a UFO. And there's talk about this stuff, but anyway, it came up on my feed and it's really intriguing. So
That's
right
a
now,
new one for me. I've not ever heard that. I'll have to look it up.
it's
Just
weird. I'm
fun.
trying to flow with it, but I listen to a lot of all different types of books.
Yay. Always love new recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert.
Yeah,
all
I
the way.
guessed that.
I'm
for
7 on the Enneagram.
You're a 7. I go back and forth. Sometimes
Between what?
4, sometimes another. And who is your favorite artist?
Parker, my son.
Awesome.
He's an artist, singer, songwriter. He's amazing, but he just doesn't
I
know
love
it.
that.
He doesn't
I
know
love
it yet.
that. Is there a place we can send folks to see his art?
No, because I nag him to make a website for it.
Okay.
But does he
Well,
listen to his mother? No.
okay.
Maybe I
One
need to
day.
make one for
One
him.
day it'll happen.
No,
Are
my
you-
next nonprofit will be all moms who call people and nag them and tell them what to do.
Okay. Are you a morning lark or a night owl?
Night owl, all
Night
the way.
owl. And do you do still or carbonated water, or do you do diet soda?
No diet whatsoever.
That's best.
Nothing diet
That's
ever.
probably best. Do you have a celebrity crush?
Not really.
Not really. Not required. And then tell us the furthest place you have traveled.
I've been to India and Amsterdam.
Oh, fun. I've
Yeah.
been to Amsterdam, not India though.
We talk about, just expanding your worldview.
For
You
sure.
realize there's so much more than just yourself.
Yes, it is so expansive and
Mhm.
mind broadening and heart expanding. Yeah, agree 100%. Well,
Mhm.
if folks had questions for you or wanted to connect with you or reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yes, the best way to contact me is Sara, SARA,
Mhm.
at freemomhugs.org.
Okay.
And I do want to say that I officiate same-sex weddings, straight weddings. I officiate funerals. I do name blessings for our transgender community. And I just love celebrating. So I'm available to do that.
Awesome. Thank you
I
for
stand in at weddings also.
you stand in at weddings. Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Here's my book. I don't know if you do, but this is
Yes,
my
tell
book.
us how we sleep at night. Okay.
Yeah, this is the book
Others.
that the journey from the church to the Pride Parade. It is self-published.
Okay.
Not to knock myself, but I have a 10th grade education, so you realize how limited your vocabulary is. But I'm very proud of it. I didn't expect it to have the response that it has, and now it's under contract to hopefully be made into a movie. But
Yay.
the COVID messed that
Okay.
up. But anyway, we'll
I
see.
will leave a link to your book in the show notes along with your
Thank you.
email address. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
All right, well, keep me posted too on what
I
you're
will.
doing.
I
When
will.
I have a podcast, I'll have you on there.
Okay. I will line right up. It's been a pleasure to chat with you today, Sara. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Hopeful Spaces is a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. It's a free monthly parent, ally, or caregiver support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. Email chc@dallashopecharities.org for more info. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more, or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.